And thank you. India has plenty of resources, though, and it leads nations in vaccine production. But seemingly, none of that prevented it from becoming the epicenter, the latest one, of the pandemic. The country reported more than 350,000 new cases on Monday. And despite making COVID vaccines in country, its own inoculation campaign appears to be failing. Less than 2% is fully vaccinated, well behind the US and Europe. Ravi Agrawal is the editor-in-chief for Foreign Policy and CNN's former New Delhi bureau chief. Were you surprised, knowing the country as you do, were you surprised that this second wave was allowed to overwhelm and take over?
Well, the answer is yes and no, Richard. I was not surprised that there was a second wave. What I was surprised by was the complacency that had set in across the country over the last couple of months that allowed this second wave to be as bad as it is. And of course, it could easily get a lot worse than what we're seeing right now. And that's keeping in mind that the numbers we have could easily be the tip of the iceberg, as Ivan just mentioned, both in terms of the number of cases and the number of deaths. They could be orders of magnitude higher across the country. And the complacency took many shapes and forms. I mean, one, of course, was this sense of Indian exceptionalism, this notion that Indians somehow were relatively immune, in large part because the caseload last year was as low as it was. This sense that India has youthful demographics. The median age of Indians is 28, which means they're mostly young and therefore less likely to be impacted. But what we're seeing with this new wave is that it's affecting everyone, young and old, and it is tearing through cities and even now rural parts of the country. And in large part, this is down to the fact that people have been allowed to congregate in large numbers. There's a big Hindu festival called the Kumbh Mela, where millions congregated to dip into the Ganges, the holy Indian river. There have been cricket matches with tens of thousands in attendance. There have been electoral rallies, almost held unfettered, especially in the state of West Bengal in the east. All of that put together, Richard, to answer your question, has been surprising that it's been allowed to go on this way.
But the ability of the Prime Minister to almost say in his speech yesterday, in his address to the nation, his radio address, you know, the nation is suffering, the nation's in trouble. It's almost like, wasn't me, Gov. Don't blame, don't look at me. It's not my fault.
Yeah, there is some of that. I don't know whether the people are going to buy that. I mean, it's worth keeping in mind that Narendra Modi is an immensely popular politician. He is among the most popular world leaders anywhere. And we've seen this through repeated elections. This time, however, there really is a widespread sort of rising surge of anger across the country because people are being impacted. And these are all people who thought they had the virus under control. They trusted the government, and now they're beginning to feel let down. So I'm not so sure how people will believe that unless things get better very quickly. And that, too, is unlikely to happen because, as we know from other parts of the world, death rates usually catch up with cases in a couple of weeks. That could be worse.
Ravi, thank you. We will talk more. Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you.